Hi, today we are going to have a look at the 2019 Leaving Cert Higher Level Production Budget question. Again, there are two products that we're manufacturing, dark and light, and there are two materials required, material 1 and material 2. So again, this is similar to the 2017 question and also the 2022 question. First of all, we are asked to prepare a production budget in units. So to do that, first of all, we are going to start off with the required sales that we need. Because we have opening stock and we want to have closing stock at the end of the year, that means that we will not need to produce the exact amount that we need to sell. If there's no opening or closing stock, we would produce the exact amount we would need to sell, but with opening and closing stock, those figures will be different. So we're going to start off with the required sales for dark and light. So if we go to the question, required sales for dark and light are 12,600 and 7,500. Again, we're going to add closing stock because if we want to have the units of dark and light in stock at the end of the year, we're going to have to make those also. That's why we're going to add closing stock. And we're going to take away opening stock because we have some units available from the year before and we won't need to make those again. That's why we're taking away opening stock. We're given opening stock in the question. So the opening stock of units in the question, and we know it's opening stock because it's the first. They are 650 units and 420 units. And it tells us in the question that all stocks are to be increased by 10% from their opening levels by the end of the year. That means that closing stock, because it's been increased by 10%, closing stock will be 110% of opening stock. I think this is the first question. Most other years it says that stocks were decreased by 10% or 15%. If they were decreased by 10%, there would be 90% of their opening levels. Similarly, if they were decreased by 15%, there would be 85% of their opening. But in this question, they're increased by 10%. So closing stock will then be 110% of opening stock. So I get my opening stock and I'm going to multiply it by 110%. So now from the required by sales, I am going to add closing stock and take away opening stock for dark, and I'm going to do the same for light. So sales, add closing stock, which again I will need to make, and I'm going to take away opening stock, which are coming forward from previous year. I won't need to make those again. So to sell 12,600 units of dark, I'm going to need to make 12,665, and to sell 7,500 units of light, I'm going to need to make 7,542. So that's part A complete. And there we're talking about units of dark and units of light. Part B in the question asks us to prepare a raw materials purchases budget in units, in kgs, and also in euros. So to do this, now we're going to talk about our two materials because this is a materials purchases budget. So we have material 1 and material 2. So required by production, how much do we need for dark and light of material 1 and material 2? So we're going to start off with dark. So the units of dark we need to make are 12,665. Now we take the units we need to make, not the units we need to sell from the question, because the materials will be applied to the amount of units we actually need to make, not what we need to sell. So dark is 12,665. And then if we look at light, the units here are 7,542. That's where the 7,542 is coming from. So for dark, how much of material 1 and material 2 do I need of dark? If I go back to the question, for dark, I need 5 kgs of material 1 and 6 kgs of material 2. That's why I'm going to multiply by 5 and by 6. And for light, I need 7 kgs for material 1 and 4 kgs for material 2. That's why I'm going to multiply by 7 and by 4. You need to just be careful when you're filling this in because from the question, you might just look across at 5 and 7 and multiply by 5 and 7, which will be wrong. And similarly here, you might multiply by 6 and by 4 just because they're beside each other, 6 and 4, and again, that would be wrong. So you're going down from the question, 5 and 7 and 6 and 4, because dark is 5 and material 1 is 5 and 7 for dark and light. And material 2 is 6 and 4 for dark and light. So here, this is going to be 12,665 by 5. Here we have 12,665 by 6. 7,542 by 7. And 7,542 by 4. So in total, between dark and light, for material 1, I need 116,119 kgs. And for material 2, 106,158. But similar to above with the units of dark and light, I have opening and closing stocks of the materials. So again, from the question, I can get my opening stock. So opening stock of material 1, and again I know it's opening stock because it's the first. Opening stock material 1 is 6,500 and material 2, 5,500. So 6,500 and 5,500. And again, in the question, it says all stocks are to be increased by 10% from their opening levels. So that's the stock of the units and the stock of the materials. So for the same reason as in part 1, closing stock will be 110% of opening stock. So again, I'm going to add closing stock, gives me that figure, and then take away opening stock, leaves me with 116,769. And for material 2, I am going to get that figure, add closing stock, and then take away opening stock. So these are the kgs I need to purchase of material 1 and material 2. Now, what is the purchase price of material 1 and material 2? So the purchase price of material 1 is €3 per kg and material 2, €6 per kg. So €3 and €6. So I need 116,769 kgs of material 1 at €3 per kg is €350,307. Similarly, for material 2, I need 106,708 kgs at €6 a kg comes to 640,248. Part C, we have to do a production cost manufacturing budget. Part C can look tricky, but the way I would think of it is there's kind of 6 things going on here. First of all, you get your opening stock, then you add your purchases and then take away closing stock. So that's the first part. There's 3 things there: opening stock, add purchases, take away closing stock for both materials. And then you have to add in also labor, which is the 4th one, variable overhead the 5th, and fixed overhead the 6th. So to start this off, again, the opening stock of raw materials we're just taking from the question. So opening stock of raw materials, we have 6,500 kgs of material 1 at 280 per kg and 5,500 kgs of material 2 at €5.10 per kg. So 6,500 by €2.80 and 5,500 by €5.10. So in total, opening stock comes to 46,250. And again, I'm just going to put that over there. Then I'm going to add purchases. So this is just simply from part B. The purchase cost of material 1 is 350,307. And for material 2 is 640,248. And again, I'm going to total those in the last column. So now I have opening stock plus purchases gives me 1,036,805. And now from that, I have to take away closing stock. So again, the opening stock was the kgs of material by the cost per kg. So the closing stock is going to be similar. Now we're given the opening stock in the question, but from the previous part, we've actually already worked out these closing stocks, the 7150 and the 6050. They're just coming from here, 7150 and 6050. So we have those worked out already. They were just 110% of the opening stocks. And this was the cost of the materials at the start of the year. But if we want to buy the materials during the year from the question, we can see they're €3 and €6. So closing stock is valued at €3 and €6. So 7150 by 3 and 6050 by 6. So in total, my closing stock comes to 57,750. So opening stock plus purchases gave me this figure, and now this figure less closing stock gives me 979055. Now, to this purchases cost, I have other expenses also. I'm going to have to add in my labor, my variable overhead, and my fixed overhead. So for the labor, we're going to take the units by the hours it takes to make a unit by the cost per hour. And similarly for variable overheads, the units by the hours it takes to make the unit by the variable overhead rate per hour. So again, we can see from part 1, these are the units of dark and light that we need to produce here. The hours for dark and light, we can see from the question up here. It takes 6 hours for dark and 8 hours to make a unit of light. That's where the 6 hours is coming for dark here and the 8 hours coming for light. And the cost per hour of labor, I can see is, if I go down the question here, the labor is €16 per hour and the variable overhead €5.50 per hour. That's where the €16 and the €5.50 are coming from. So labor for dark, 12,665 units by 6 hours to make a unit by €16 per hour. And for light, 7542 units by 8 hours by €16 per hour. So in total then, the cost of labor is going to be 2181216. Variable overhead again, for dark we need to make 12,665 units by €6 per hour, but the variable overhead rate is €5.50. And again for light, 7542 by 8 hours by €5.50 per hour. So in total, variable overheads comes to 749793. And the fixed overhead, again, you can see here the Q just means coming directly from the question. Fixed overhead is 681630. So my total cost of manufacture, I'm just going to add my purchases here, plus my labor, plus my variable overhead, plus my fixed overhead. And that comes to 4591694. For part D, and again, any year this has come up, A, B, and C has always been the same. Part D, previous to 2017, you used to be asked to calculate the budgeted trading account or to calculate the unit cost of stock of all products. But since 2017 and 19, and again in 22, when this question has come up, you're asked to do budgeted trading account, but you also had to calculate the unit cost of closing stock of both products as well. So we have to do that first of all, and when we've that done, then we can do the trading account. So to calculate the budgeted closing stock per unit, we need to do that for dark and light. So again, all of these figures are coming from the question apart from this €5. So we need to work out this €5 in a minute. But all of the other figures, as you can see, are coming from the question now when we go through it. So to start off with dark. For dark, for material 1 and 2, we need 5 kgs and 6 kgs. We can see that from here. For dark, material 1, 5 kgs, material 2, 6 kgs. And for light, for material 1, 7 kgs, and for material 2, 4 kgs. So again, that's just where the 7 and the 4 are coming from. Now, the cost during the year, if we want to buy material 2, is €3, and material 2 is material 1 is €3, and material 2 is €6. So that's just coming from here. Material 1, €3, and material 2, €6. So this is simply 5 by 3, and this is 7 by 3, and here we have 6 by 6 and 4 by 6. For direct labour, it takes, so for dark, for labour variable overhead in €6, it takes 6 hours to make a unit, and for light, it takes 8 hours to make a unit. So again, just to have a look here, for dark, 6 hours, and light is 8 hours. That's where the 6 hours and the 8 hours is coming from. The labour rate per hour is €16. We can see that from the question here, €16. So 16 and 16 for the labour. The variable overhead, 550 and 550. So again, from the question, we can see that that is 550. So this is simply 6 by 16 and 8 by 16. The variable overhead is 6 by 550 and here 8 by 550. Now, for the fixed overhead, we are not actually given a rate per hour, so we need to do a calculation to work out this, €5. So we can see how you do that is you get your total fixed overhead, which is 681,630 from the question, and you divide that by the units we need to make of dark by the hours per unit, plus the units we need to make of light from part 1 to part A by the hours, which is 8. So 681,360 divided by the units of dark is 12,665 by 6 hours to make a unit, plus the units of light we need to make are 7,542 by 8 hours per unit. So when we divide these, it gives us €5 per hour for the fixed overhead. So this is going to be 6 hours by €5 per hour, and for light it's going to be 8 hours by €5 per hour. So now when we add these down, we get a total closing stock per unit for dark of 210, and for light is 257. Now we have that done, now we are able to do our budgeted trading account. So for the budgeted trading account, first of all, we're going to start off with sales. And again, these are taken directly from the question. Now, because we are actually talking about sales and not units that we need to produce, we can take the sales units from the question. So it's just the units by the selling price for dark and the units by the selling price for light. So for dark, we are going to sell 12,600 units at €250 per unit. Light, 7,500 units at €300 per unit. So for dark, 12,600 by 250, and light, 7,500 by €300. And then we're going to total those to get total sales of 5.4 million. Less cost of sales. So the opening stock of finished goods, again, we're given this in the question. So it's just the units by the cost per unit. And again, opening stock, because it's the first. So it's 650 by 180. And for light, it is 420 by 240. So in total, opening stock comes to 217,800. The cost of manufacture is just my final figure from part C, because in part C we worked out cost of manufacture. So if I go up here to part C, cost of manufacture is 4591694. So now again, I'm going to get my opening stock plus my cost of manufacture. It gives me 4809494. And from that, I'm going to take away my closing stock. So similar to the opening stock, closing stock is the units I have at the end of the year by the cost per unit. So from part 1, I've actually these closing stock units worked out, the 715 and the 462. So if I go up here to part A, you can see here I have the 715, the closing stock units I've worked out already, 715 and 462. That's where the 715 and 462 here are coming from. And we're after working out the closing stock of dark and light per unit a minute ago, the 210 and the 257. So again, that's where the 210 and 257 are coming from. So 715 by €210. And again, here are the units of light. We have at the end of the year 462, and they are €257 per unit. So if I add the two of these, my total closing stock is 268,884. So again, opening stock plus the cost of manufacture gives me this figure, and then I'm going to take away closing stock. So my cost of sales are 4540610. So to work out my gross profit is 5.4 million minus that is 859390. So then all that was left, part E, was a bit of theory. And again, the theory, I just don't have the question there, but the solutions were we need to establish the selling price for tendering purposes, control costs by comparing budgeted costs with actual costs, helps with planning and decision making, and to find the value of closing stock to be used when calculating profit. So again, that is the 2019 Leaving Cert higher level production budget question complete. Thank you.